All right, Trevon. So let's get into the NBA action. We had some really good games tonight. So let's start out with the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks game. This series was one of the series that we were looking forward to, and it kind of ended up how we thought it would, especially with Kawhi Leonard being out. So the Dallas Mavericks in the Clippers season in game 6, they win the game 114 to 101. So what are your thoughts on this series and the Mavericks as a whole, along with the Clippers?
I just think it speaks to the greatness of Luca, the greatness of Kyrie. And to be honest, if you look at this team, you look at them as just Luca, Kyrie, and then a whole bunch of role players or specialists. Typically in the playoffs, you don't see that end up or result in a championship too many times unless your stars are just reaching that level that they claim to be. And I think that's what we're seeing tonight. We see Kyrie really step up and take on that role. Being able to pick up Luca when you think about that game 4 and how Luca was barely able to move and could barely make a huge impact. He still had the stats that you would expect from Luca, but you could just tell he wasn't himself, and he continued that through game 5 and game 6. Luca did pick it up, but if you go back and look at Jalen Brunson about his production that he had, that was the closest thing that Luca had to this. But Kyrie just has another level he can get to. I think, especially as a number 2, I think he has that ability to still have a lasting impact on a team to where he plays like he's a number 1. But I don't think he feels like, or he doesn't play like he's being held back. He's still able to reach that maximum potential because I think we could both agree that Kyrie is a more gifted, more talented scorer. He has all the skills that you could really want in a guard. You think about like the shot creation and the ability to get to his spots in the mid range, such as like a Kobe or a lot of our other mid range specialists that we have in the league or throughout NBA history. But he also has that pull up three ability to be able to just shoot over top of defenses. Like I said, Brunson did good, but I think in some ways, Luca being number 1 and Brunson being number 2, Brunson wasn't able to reach that full potential we see now, where we've seen Kyrie do that time and time again. And I just think that having him on his team has helped a lot.
This team defensively was great this series. And towards the end of the season, you could see the trajectory of this team on that end of the floor. The defense with Gafford and Lively holding it down on the back end, anchoring the defense. And then you have players like Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, or Josh Green, who were really good in terms of point of attack defense or guarding on the perimeter. And we should give props to Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. These two players are not known for their defense throughout most of their career. They have been mostly known for their offense, but this specific series against the Clippers, they have shown up on the defensive end and they really bought in and were effective on that end. This game specifically, I noticed that the Dallas Mavericks came out with a lot more energy. They just came out with a lot more urgency to try and close out this series. And it really showed on the defensive end. A lot of really good closeouts, a lot of really good second efforts to go chase people off of the 3-point line, to box out, to get rebounds. That was really the difference in this game for me. My keys to the games that I've noticed over this series has been the turnover battle and who is able to get into the paint, make the defense rotate, and create easy shots for your team. The Mavericks are the team that consistently did that for most of this series. Kyrie and Luca got into the lane a lot. The Clippers defense really did not stop dribble penetration into the paint, and it just created really easy shots for the Dallas Mavericks. Where on the other end, it looked like everything the Clippers did on the offensive end, it was really tough for them to generate quality shots. And I think that's really what the difference in the game was. So credit to the Dallas Mavericks. I think those two things, the turnover battle and who's able to get into the paint and create easy shots for themselves, that's what really swung the series back and forth.
The Clippers, man, like what's your next plan after this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we going to do after this? We lost in the first round 2 years in a row. Kawhi didn't play 2 years in a row. I think there's a lot of questions that the Clippers have. Harden has been his typical Harden self in games 5 and 6. I think he averaged only like 11.5 over that 2 game span. Paul George does well, but he has some health injuries as well, similar to Kawhi, and truly more inconsistencies. So I just think the Clippers have reached a point where I think they really need to look at themselves and have some true questions. I know they want to keep the roster or the stars for the new Intuit Dome coming next year. They want to be able to bring fans in, bring in some revenue. But I think they have some serious questions after this because they should be going farther than what they are, but they're never fully healthy and Kawhi is never available. So I think they got some questions.
And to your point about the Clippers, that's exactly what I said, and I believe you said as well in a previous video we did. For the Clippers, they've had this 4 to 5 year stretch where they're always injured. Kawhi specifically, I think PG was injured one year, getting bounced out of the playoffs in either round one or two. They made it to the conference finals once. You know me, I'm a big Kawhi Leonard fan. All time, Stephen Curry and Dwayne Wade, those are probably like 1A, 1B, my top favorite players over my time watching the NBA since I was a kid. And then after that is Kawhi Leonard. Like those are my top three players that I've liked over the course of me watching the NBA is Steph, D Wade, and Kawhi. So I'm a big Kawhi Leonard fan, but at the end of the day, you have to call it what it is. You have to look at the situation and be real about it. And the truth of the matter is, four and a half, five of these last few years, he's been hurt during the time of the playoffs or even before the playoffs. So I think they have to take a hard look at Kawhi in terms of we just gave him this extension. We have a lot of money tied to him. Are we going to be able to depend on him going into the playoffs for multiple years? And at this point, the answer to that question is no. But like you mentioned, I don't think that they blow this team up because they're moving into that new stadium. Paul George has not signed an extension. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So I believe the Clippers are going to match whatever deal he does get. Now, that doesn't mean that Paul George decides to stay. He may decide to leave, but I do think the Clippers try and keep this thing together, probably even sign James Harden to a team friendly deal for multiple years and go into their new arena and create some buzz and hopefully have an opportunity to make a run in the playoffs and get healthy. But yeah, there are definitely some questions that the Clippers have to look in the mirror and ask themselves because year in and year out, it's the same old song. And I was watching Ty Lue's post game interview, and you feel bad for him because he's such a great coach, but same thing every year, man.